notice you. You ready? Mm-hmm. Hi, my name is Jacey Boggs-Faulkner, and I'm here doing the second Ask Jacey, where Margo wrote in to ask how, using scotch tension, you can control over-twisting your yarn. So we're going to run through that real quick. The first thing we're going to talk about is scotch tension, which is where your break band goes over your bobbin and slows your bobbin while your drive band goes over your pulleys. So that's scotch tension. You'll usually have a rubber band or a spring. And so how you set up your scotch tension, for me, how you set up your scotch tension always is the least amount of uptake that you can use and still have it pull in your yarn gently when you offer your yarn to your wheel. So you don't want it to pull against you. If you can feel your uptake, if you can like feel it pulling, then you have too much. I adjust my uptake based on the weight of the yarn that I'm spinning. So if it's really fine, my wheel only has to work a little bit, like very light uptake will pull it in. If it's a heavier yarn, my wheel needs to exert a little more force, and so I'll turn up my uptake to pull in the heavier yarn. So the first thing I recommend is turning down your uptake. In order to set your uptake up for the first time, or if you're having trouble, I recommend setting yourself up to spin and then turning your uptake down, turning your tension down as far as it'll go. Notice this, there's no tension here. And then spin. And you can see what's happening is my yarn is not going in. Woo! And so I'm going to slowly increase, turned it down a little far, just a little bit at a time, and you'll see that this is still not going in. These small little increments. And of course, you don't do this each time, but when you're first starting, so there, this is what we're trying to avoid, this over twisty part. So let's look at this. Let's turn it down just a little bit. So here I spin this finish yarn, and it's pulling it in. I don't feel it against my hand. I don't have to like pinch hard. Like I can let go of it, and it won't pull it out of my hand. It'll just barely add twist. So that's the kind of tension I like to use, very little. If I turn it up, you can see my fingers, I can't let it go. Well, this is what happens if you let it go. If you have your wheel pull your yarn out of your hands like that, then you have far too much tension. So set your wheel up, slowly increase the tension until it just barely pulls in. That's how I recommend setting up scotch tension. Now, how to control over twisting. Most people will tell you, and not most, lots of people will tell you to turn your uptake way up, because essentially the shorter amount of time your yarn spins outside the orifice, the more time it has to gather twist. The problem with that, and that's true, but the problem with that is the more you're fighting your wheel, the more you're gripping this yarn and holding onto it really tight, the less control you have over spinning the yarn that you want. So I still recommend very light uptake, just a little bit. There are other things you can do to control over twisting though. The first one is to pick a large pulley. All right. Right here, I'm on my biggest one. And I just lost the yarn. So biggest pulley puts fewer twists in the yarn every time you treadle. Smaller pulley puts more twist in the yarn each time you treadle. So pick your biggest pulley if you're trying to get fewer twists. That's the first thing. That's probably the easiest thing to do. The next thing is to treadle slowly. So the slower you treadle, the fewer twists are going to be inserted into your yarn each time. The trouble is, whenever we treadle slowly, we spinners tend to also slow down our hands because we've worked really hard to get our hands and our feet connected. So you're gonna kind of have to break that connection. I want you to slow down your feet, but keep your hands the same speed or speed them up. So slow feet, fast hands, big pulley. Those are the three things that will give you less twist in your yarn. The fast hands, just like the pulley, or just like the scotch tension, The fast hands will get your yarn into your orifice quicker. The slow feet will put less twist each treadle, and the big pulley, again, less twist each treadle, which is what you're going for. So that's my recommendation for controlling over twist and how much tension or uptake you want on your wheel.